We'll have a short show today. Most of it practical halacha of halacha maaseh, the appropriate place to daven, appropriate place of prayer, and we're supposed to be in a place which is clean and nice without any arva. We'll start from an interesting story, and then we'll go very fast through different halachot. We won't read the story inside, but the story of Rabbi Abba who wanted to go to the land of Israel. He was a student of Rav Yudah, and Rav Yudah held that people aren't allowed to leave Bavel to go to Israel. There's an assay to stay in Bavel until Mashiach comes. So Rabbi Abba wanted to hear a bit of Torah from Rav Yudah. On the other hand, he didn't want to come in front of him, so Rav Yudah wants to stop him from going to the land of Israel. So he went quietly, and he to the Beis Midrash, and then he said, and then I'll leave. So he heard one of the students teaching in front of Rav Yudah, that someone who was in the middle of prayer, and then he passed gas, so he waits until the smell goes, and then he continues to pray. And there's another way in the Gemara of that saying, that if he needs to pass gas, so what does he do? He stops, goes back, says afterwards he says a small short prayer, and then he continues from the place where he stopped. And it's quite an interesting story. Why is that brought when he's going to the land of Israel? And Rav Abba says, Amar, ilu lo bati ela lishmoa davar ze dai. If I came only to hear this thing, so that's enough. That's enough for me. And you ask, what's so special about this thing? It could be. So in the first story of Rabbi Abba, we're just finishing the story of Rabbi Abba who wanted to go to the land of Israel, and he heard this saying of someone who wants to pass gas, so he, in the middle of a prayer, so what does he do? And he says, that's enough for me. It could be Rabbi Abba, he's going to the land of Israel, and he knows the land of Israel is a holy place, like you're praying. And then what happens when holiness and physical world that clash with each other? What happens when, on one hand, someone needs to be like a person, like a human being, he passes gas. On the other hand, he's in the middle of prayer. How do you combine the physical world and maybe the normal, the holy world together? How do they go together? And he hears from Rav Yudah, there's a way to combine them together. If someone is praying, so he's also a human being, and he also sometimes has also incidents that happen. So there's a way how to deal with them together. Just going to the land of Israel, before Rav Abba comes to a holy place, he learns that there is a way where a person could be both holy and also live the life as a holy person. So that's an interesting story to begin this shir. We have a few psukim in Dvarim. We will learn from them about praying or having a holy place when we pray. ויתד תהיה לך על הזניך, it's a bathroom, a restroom, והיה בשבתך חוץ וחפרת בה, you dig in the ground, ושבת וכסית את צאתך, and then you cover it up again. Obviously, in those days, they didn't have restrooms like we have today, so that's what they did. And the pasuk continues, כי השם לוקח מתהלך בקרב מחניך, Hashem is like maybe moves about your camp, like Rabbi Abba, he was in the middle of praying, and Hashem is there. And the pasuk continues afterwards, והיה מחנך הקדוש, your camp should be holy, and you won't see ערוות דבר, okay? You won't find anything unseemly around you. So this pasuk, you can see the holiness around it. It actually talks about the group going for a war, the soldiers going for a war. So you can see in the maybe physical place of conquering the land, there's a place for holiness. And comes the question of, how do you keep this place holy? And the pasuk mentions two things. One is covering, or to dig when someone goes to the bathroom to cover whatever comes out. And one is not to see something unseemly or erva, or not sneers things, especially when a person is in a holy state, when he prays. So we have here two things. One is being next to dirty things, or smelly things, and one is seeing non-snute things. So we have being next to and seeing, two different things, and we'll get to them. do it as we learn. So as I said, it will be a shorter shiur today, and we'll go by just a few halachot to see the basic ideas in Shulchan Aruch. It's around Simanim Ayin Daled, Ayin Hey, Ayin Vav, Ayin Zayin in Shulchan Aruch. And it starts from keeping the body itself apart from erva, apart from uncovered or from covered parts of the body. And usually we say a man shouldn't see, or with his eyes, covered parts of someone else's or his body. What's interesting is also the heart shouldn't see. Now the heart doesn't have eyes, right? Although the term in Halacha is shelo yeh libo ro'eh et ha'erva. The heart shouldn't see the erva, the covered part of the person. And maybe it comes also to remind us that also where is our heart? When we pray, where is our heart? So the Halacha says someone who was sleeping naked in his bed, that's how he used to sleep. He didn't have any pajamas then, and he wants to read Kriyat Shema. He presses the blanket against his chest to make a difference between his lower part of the body and the heart. Yeah, so his heart won't see the erva. The same we wear today pants. We wear pants so that it separates between the lower part of the body and the higher part of the body. By the way, if you want to, so we have papers. Okay. The original minhag for wearing a gartel, for Hasidim wearing a gartel, came from the fact they used to have longer gowns without any pants or panties like we have today. So to separate between the upper part of the body and the lower part, they wear a gartel. Today it's more just a preparation for davening, for prayer. Okay, and that's what the Shulchan Aruch says in those two simanim, that if a person has a belt around him, so it's fine, he can say Kriyat Shema. He mentions here something which is quite interesting, we won't go into it now, that for praying itself, like for Kriyat Shema, or for saying anything in Kedusha, brachot, anything, it's just enough to have a separation between the top part of the body and the lower part of the body. For praying, that a person must also cover himself, cover his heart, have a shirt on, because a person is standing in front of a king. But what we see here, our main point from this halacha, which is also mentioned in the daf of the last week, like all the halachot we have here, when a person prays, davens, says something kedusha, he should have a separation between his lower part of the body and the upper part of his body. So whether if he has a nightgown on or a gown on, he should just cover it, have a belt on, or whatever, he should have a cover between them, a separation between them. The next topic in it is not to see inappropriate things when a person davens. So a man shouldn't see a covered part of a body of a woman, even if it's his wife, from whatever she is used to covering. So whatever a woman, the common way is to cover it, so also needs to be covered when a person is saying davening or reciting Shema or praying in front of her. Whatever one woman doesn't cover usually, like the face or other parts of the body, so don't need to be covered. So it goes by also a few basic rules in halacha: what's considered a covered place and what's not considered a covered place, and also according to the norm of that place or that city, that area. And that's the idea of, it comes from the pasuk v'lo yira'eh b'charvat davar. A person shouldn't see when he prays or when he's in a holy place and seeing things which are covered, which are erva. So Shulchan Aruch says tefach megule be'isha, a hand breadth uncovered in a woman in a place where it's her practice to cover it, even if it's his wife. There's no problem of seeing it in the halacha wise of tznius. Just for prayer, we're in a holy place. In a holy place, then it should be covered. And the Shulchan Aruch continues a few sifim afterwards, even if it's a baby, even if it's a non-Jewish person, it should be covered. So if someone has babies, grandchildren, and they're now walking around the house without clothes on, which happens many times, that's the nature of children. So there might not be problem with just when they walk like that normally, but when the person prays, so then they should be covered. They should be covered. Actually, a good question on a bris. What do you do in a bris? How Yeah, how do you say the bracha when the baby in front of the baby? Some poskim say you should cover it a bit. Some say, well, it's too small. It's not even considered an uncovered place. It's just a week old. And some poskim say usually we'll consider it as being something which is unseen. You shouldn't see it. Here, since it's also small, and also it's part of the mitzvah for that specific moment, so you're allowed to say the blessing in front of a baby. But I think for many occasions, saying, especially if you have children or grandchildren running around the house, so this is quite a relevant halacha for everyone who has children, right? It's like that. Now, we say that the problem of erva, uncovered thing, is seeing it. Seeing it. So what happens if it's behind the window? So it doesn't help. The fact there's a mechitza, or the fact there's a wall between us and the thing, doesn't help because the whole problem is seeing it. So you can see it. On the other hand, if it's in front of someone and he turns his face around, so that's appropriate. That's fine because he doesn't see it. The Mishnah Berurah comes to deal with it, and we won't go into details of it. So we want to finish a bit faster today. The Mishnah Berurah comes into details. Is it enough just to close the eyes? Do you have to turn all the body around? And he says a person should turn all of his body around. That's something which shouldn't be seen. And that comes into many cases. That's why we have a mechitza in shorts. That's what there's just in cases people who aren't dressed, they should be dressed. It comes maybe to who should kind of person. It used to be quite an actual question in the olden times. Can a person daven when he used to live in places where there are non-Jewish people around them always, and they used to get dressed as people walk outside in the summer today? How can you daven? So there are quite a few practical questions around it. Obviously in shuls, so it's much better, and your person can be clean from it. The last topic we'll deal with is praying next to bad smell, especially bad smell from bathrooms. And here the problem is not seeing it. The problem is smelling it, being in the same place with something bad, in the same room. So, if we want to contrast from seeing an uncovered place of the body, there we said a glass, a door from glass doesn't help. Here, in the case of being between me and a bathroom, so a glass door does help. Right? Because the problem isn't seeing it. The problem is being in the same area or smelling the smell. Okay, so that's the problem. Being in the same area of that bad thing and smelling the smell. You find this case many times when you go on trips. I'm not sure how much you go on day trips. When you go on trips and you want to pray, so you have to make sure your surroundings is clean. If you camp, or maybe in the army once, we had a question. The soldiers built a camp, the tents, not so far from the rubbish bins. So there was a bad smell. And they said, well, we can't daven here. So they actually had to move and daven somewhere else. You can't daven next to a rubbish bin. So the general idea is a person shouldn't be in the same place with something which stinks, and also not to daven next to something which stinks, and if you just should go away, and the general distance is 4 amot, from where the smell ends. That's a general idea. There is a difference in halacha, and we'll finish maybe that. That's relevant for, again, you have kids in the house, between what you call meraglaim, water, and something more solid. The water, if someone doesn't know if there's something bad, whatever, you're in the house, you have babies in the house. Do you have to check now all the house and see if the house is clean or not? You're camping out. Do you have to check the area or no? So the house, we assume it's clean. The house, we assume it's clean, even if afterwards, if a person davened, and then afterwards he found that it wasn't clean, he didn't smell anything, so it's fine. We assume the house is clean. That's the normal of a house to be clean. When someone goes outside, so he must make sure, especially when in the olden times, but it depends also where you go to today and in which countries and which areas, he should make sure that his surroundings around him are clean. There's nothing there. If afterwards he found a solid outlets, so he needs to recite the same prayer again. And just to finish with a more positive place of the story of Rabbi Abba, which we started with, that a person has to live the idea of holiness, and there is a way to live the idea of holiness. We shouldn't be scared of our body. We shouldn't be scared of bad smells. We shouldn't be scared of going to the bathroom. We just have to know how to combine that together with holiness and bring all of our life to be holy and Behayam Kadosh.